Hello, I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC and team member of Gold Lactation Online Conference 2013. I'm here today with Fleur Bickford talking about her presentation at Gold, titled, What Do Bottles and Formula Have to Do with Breastfeeding? Fleur, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your topic to get people excited to come on board and listen. The first question I have for you is, why do we need to know about bottles and formula if we're trying to help moms with breastfeeding?
Hi, thank you, Fiona. That's a really good question. It's a common one that I get when I'm talking to other people about bottles and formula. And the reason that we need to know about this stuff is because whether we like it or not, there are so many moms using bottles and formula. Unfortunately, we know that, large numbers of babies are being supplemented with formula before they even leave the hospital. And most moms, whether they're going back to work or not, most moms choose to introduce a bottle at some point. So in order for us to be able to meet moms where they are and provide them with the information that they need in order to help their babies feed in a manner that is as safe as possible, we need to be able to educate these moms on how to bottle feed and how to prepare formula in a safe manner.
I really like that, Fleur. I love to be able to meet mums exactly where they're at. That was a great answer. Thank you. And how did you become interested in this topic?
I became interested in this simply through what I was seeing with a lot of my clients. I have a lot of moms who, when they come to me, they're already using bottles and they're already using formula. And a common basic complaint from a lot of my clients was that they hadn't been taught anything about it. They hadn't been given any information from their doctor or other healthcare providers on how to use formula, and they often had so many questions. So I was getting all these questions from the moms that I was working with, and in the beginning I wasn't able to answer them. And I was getting these questions from so many moms, I realized that there really is a need for moms to have this information because they're not getting it elsewhere. And I realized that I could help my clients by being able to provide them with some of this information. And I also was seeing the impact that bottle feeding technique was having on these moms, and on the, more so on the babies, and also the impact that it was having on breastfeeding. Running into issues with babies who had been getting a bottle and then didn't want to go back to the breast afterwards. And it became, an area of interest for me to see, well, what can we do about this and what changes can be made to minimize the impact of the bottles? Because often parents are very overwhelmed. Just having a new baby is overwhelming. So, many moms are just not at a place where they're able to cope with using alternative methods of supplementation, and bottles are easier for them because they're familiar. And again, we're going to meet moms where they are, and help them actually be able to cope with things, and rather than quitting breastfeeding altogether because it's just too overwhelming. So that was how I became interested in it. I was looking for ways to help my clients cope better with the situation and provide them with the information that they really needed.
That sounds great, Fleur. It sounds like you found that sort of bridging of that lack of education and sort of bridging that gap from them. That's great. And lastly, can you tell me what type of impact have you seen in your clients since implementing these techniques?
I've seen quite an impact. Mainly, I've seen parents are often very relieved when, one, they're just able to get the questions answered, like the questions that they have, the fact that somebody actually has an answer for them. The parents are often very relieved about that. And I've been able to successfully use bottle feeding as a tool to help moms get back to exclusive breastfeeding. So if I have a mom who is totally overwhelmed with the situation, but milk supply is low, mom is needing to pump and supplement, and she's just not in a place where she's able to cope emotionally with using an alternative method of supplementation. By teaching specific bottle feeding techniques that help to minimize the impact of bottle feeding on breastfeeding, I've been able to help a lot of moms get back to the point where they're able to exclusively breastfeed, and the bottle just becomes another. And sometimes if I have moms who have chosen to pump and exclusively bottle feed, the impact that I see with the babies in terms of the bottle feeding technique is really quite amazing. I've seen a lot of consequences with babies of conventional bottle feeding techniques. I've seen outright feeding refusal, obviously a lot of overfeeding, very stressed, unhappy babies because feeding becomes a very unpleasant experience, which obviously is not what we want. So I've been able to, even if I haven't been able to get mothers back to exclusive breastfeeding, just seeing the change in the babies, watching when parents have been using more conventional methods of bottle feeding, and you see the change in the baby after they've been taught baby-led bottle feeding techniques that I'm going to be talking about in my presentation. The change in the babies is huge, and the parents notice it, and the parents are thrilled when they see this change in their baby. So even if I'm not able to get a mom back to exclusive breastfeeding, I feel good that I've been able to make a change for that baby and make feeding a much more pleasant experience, which I think is really important.
Well, thank you so much, Fleur. It just sounds in your last answer there, it just sounded like you've opened up options for your clients and reduced stress levels in both not only the mother, but also in the babies too, which is always our goal, is to, happy mother, happy baby. So thank you again. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. And for our delegates, you can hear Fleur's full presentation on April 23rd. You can also find out more information about the Gold Online Conference and about all of our other speakers, times, and dates you can find at www.goldlactation.com. And again, I would like to thank you for joining us today.